Hello, Southeastern MBA students. This is Dr. Stuckey, and this video is going to show you how to do a basic break-even analysis in Excel. This is a very common model that you would see in business, and it's also going to be one that you see frequently throughout the rest of this course. So if you go ahead and pull up your break-even analysis model and or your template. And if you're following along, it is page 32 in my text. It is example 2.3. It has to do with the quality sweaters. So we're going to go ahead and enable editing in the spreadsheet. And the first thing that we're going to do here is to name the ranges. Now, why do we name the ranges? Well, because it helps when you are, when somebody else is looking at the formulas to understand why those particular cells were referenced in each formula. This gets more important as the formulas get more complex. So there is a simple way to name ranges, and that is you select the name that you want to use, which in this case we're going to name cell B4. We're going to name it fixed cost of printing. Okay, so we're going to select both the names and then the cells that we want named. And I'm selecting non-adjacent cells, doing that by holding down Control, and I think we can do that using the named range. If we can't, we'll have to redo it. And I'm selecting everything here. I'm selecting everything on these. So then I'm going to the formulas and the formula ribbon, and I'm going to go create from selection. I'm going to tell them to create the names from the values in the left column. And obviously there's some defined names already. Oh, I see what happened here. All right, so we're actually going to do this again, and we want to leave out this fixed cost of printing. We don't want that in our selection. So we're going to select everything except that. And the reason that we're going to do that is because we already have one that's called fixed cost of printing. We don't want to confuse it. So we only want one called fixed cost of printing. So we're going to go ahead, create from selection, and go and say yes there. Okay. Now, we also can copy and paste the range names that we did fairly easily. We do use in formula and paste names, and we just paste the whole list. So again, I went to this use in formula, did paste the names, and I pasted the whole list. If you double click on the right side of a cell, it will auto size so that to the cell with the largest amount of text in it, so we can easily see all the information in the cells. Okay. All right. So this should track the information that you have in on your figure 2.10. See, the fixed cost of printing is cell B4, number mailed is B8, number of responses is B5, the response rate is E4, which it's in a different order, but it's still referring to the same cells. Now, so when we do formulas in this break-even analysis, we are going to we're going to type in the name of the cell rather than going and clicking on the cell or typing in the number like we did in the last time. Actually, you can still just click or type in the number in Excel. When you bring up the formula back up, it will still show you the name in the formula bar. All right, the next thing we are going to do is calculate the response rate. So we're going to start with an equals, because you always start an Excel formula with an equals. And we are given two inputs. The first is that the number that we are planning to mail, okay, and that is found in cell B8. And so see, I clicked on cell B8 and number mailed popped up. You could also have typed in number underscore mailed and it would have popped up as well. We are going to multiply that by the response rate, which is given as 8%. Okay. Now, where do we get this number? Well, this number is what is called usually a decision variable, which is the company is deciding how many to mail. And we're going to look at some things to show us some sensitivity to see how the company could arrive at the ideal number for the number to mail. The response rate is usually given based on history of the company when they have done a mailing. They know that historically they might have an 8% response rate, or sometimes if you're working with an advertising company, they might know that historical response rate. So that's where that came in. We're also going to do a sensitivity analysis on the response rate and see how a change in that would affect the potential profit for the model. Total revenue is calculated by the total number of responses, okay, and that is we're going to multiply that by the average order. So we think there's going to be 8,000 responses, and each person who responds is going to order an average of $40 in merchandise. Now that doesn't mean every person orders $40. It means that it's the average over all of them. One person might be 40, and one person might be 60, and one person might be 20. But the average is 40, and so that's how we're calculating our total revenue. So our total revenue is $320,000, but that is not our actual profit here. We also have to take out the cost. So our fixed cost of printing was given to us in the model, and it is this B4. It's $20,000. You would get that in a quote from a printer or the advertiser if you're going through a company. All right, the variable cost of the mailing is given to us as 25 cents. That might be the postage. Oh, and actually there's a note. It includes 10% for the printing and 25% for mailing each catalog, which is interesting that that's showing as 25%. Okay. Anyway, we're going to go with it. So we're going to take this 25% and multiply that by the number that we mailed. So we mailed 100,000, and so our variable cost, so each of those 100,000 cost us an additional 25 cents over and above the fixed cost of the printing. Okay, so our total variable cost of the mailing is $25,000. Right, so our total cost of the orders is given to us in B12. Again, that was a given. And this is calculated by, in the note, it says it's 80% of the average $40 order. So basically, they make 20% off every order. So they are making, or they're spending $32.20 for approximately for every order. So you're going to take that and then you're going to multiply it by 8,000, which is the number of responses or the number of orders. Okay, and get $257,600. Now you're going to do a sum for the total costs here. So to do a sum, let me back up. You always start a formula with an equals, and then you just type sum and do parentheses, and then you select the range of numbers that you want to sum, close the parentheses, and we see that our total cost for the order is $302,600. So now we can calculate profit easily by going $320,000 or this cell E8, and we're going to subtract the total cost, which is found in cell E12, and we find that the company makes $17,400 if this model is accurate. Now, companies don't always know that their response rate is actually going to be 8%, and so a lot of times companies will want to look at what happens if I don't get an 8% response rate. What will happen to my cost per order? Or, I'm sorry, what will happen to my total profit? To answer this question, you can create a two-way data table. So to create a two-way data table, we're going to go down to A15, or we'll go to A16, we'll make it match your text, and we're going to do response rate, and we are going to do the profit. Okay? Oh, I'm sorry, profit. And we are going to reference this profit cell, which is E12, in cell B17, which is the top, I'm sorry, it is the second column and first row of the table after the names. Now, we're going to see what happens if there's a 1% response rate, 2%, 3%, and at this point we should be able to select a couple of them in Excel. Yes, Excel has figured out what we want it to do. We'll go down to 10%. So go ahead and select the whole area from A17 down to B27, and then you're going to go to your data ribbon, and then you're going to go over to what if analysis and go to data table. Now this is a one-way data table, so we are only going to have one of these filled in, and it is going to be the column input cell because these are all in a single column. If we had something across the top, it would then, you'd have a row input cell, but in this case it is, we're going to use the column input cell, and it's a one-way data table. You won't have anything in your row input cell, and the column input is the response rate. So you are going to select E4, or you can type in response underscore rate, either one will work, and go ahead and press OK. And so this data table automatically fills in and shows us what would happen to our profit if we had a 1% response rate. And what would happen? The company would lose $32,200. So they have to have at least a 6% response rate here to break even. And if they have a 10% response rate, they make $33,000 instead of $17,400. Again, we can see that the company breaks even somewhere between 5% and 6% on the response rate, but we don't know exactly where they break even at. So what we can do is what is called a break-even analysis. To do a break-even analysis, we are going to use a tool called GoalSeek. So again, on your data ribbon, go to What If Analysis, and then hit this GoalSeek. And we are going to set the cell, which is profit, to a value of 0 by changing, by changing the response rate, which is cell E4. So just to go over that again, we want to know where we break even, which is a profit of 0. No profit, but no loss. It's a definition of break even. And we're going to find that we want to know what response rate we have to break even. So we are going to, so that's why we set the cell E13, which is our profit, to 0, and we're going to do that by changing our response rate. I'm going to go ahead and press OK, and I'm going to go ahead and press OK here. It still is showing 6% in the cell, but that's only because we don't have decimal places showing. It's actually, if you look up in the formula bar, it is 5.7692307. Anyway, it goes out a ways. So we can see from here exactly what response rate that the company has to have in order to break even on the model. All right. Again, I hope this has been helpful for you. If you have any questions, please get in touch with me by email, call me. I am here and I am happy to help you. I want to see you do well in this class. Hope you have a great night and God bless you.